Welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Walker, and today I have as my guest Candy Gibson. And Candy is working with the Trauma Awareness Initiative that Judge Key has brought to the community. Welcome to the show, Candy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now tell us, what is the Trauma Awareness Initiative?
This is a vision that Judge Key and his staff, his colleagues have to become not only a trauma-focused court, but a trauma-focused system provider and community as well. It was developed through collaboration with him and his colleagues on a national level, research, and Troup County is the first county in the nation to be trauma focused.
Yes, and so the audit was for the court first, right? And how the court handled people who came through their system, and they want the court to have an awareness that some people have had trauma in their life, and to be sensitive to that. And there are some things that the court system can do so that the person is not traumatized again through the court system. Is that right?
That's right. He asked the National Council for Juvenile and Family Systems to court judges to audit his juvenile court. And from that audit, several things were identified. First is the awareness to make the community and the system partners aware of what trauma is, the effects of trauma, and how we can work as a collaboration to meet those needs in our community.
Yes, and you know, Judge Key he's a visionary. I call him a visionary, and he didn't want to just improve the court system. And sometimes, you know, when somebody comes in an audit, and they have things for you to do to improve your agency, it's enough to get that done. But he saw that there was a need for a trauma awareness focus in our community, and he's extended that for us, and that is so very good. Now let's talk about some of the traumas that this will entail. What is the target audience that we're trying to reach, and doing that as a community effort?
Of course, our clients with the community partners, but also, you know, just at the community level for the parents and the grandparents that have children that may have had just straight A's a couple of years before, but for some reason they have lost that drive. They've become kind of numb and are not into their hobbies and things like that like they were before, to understand because of extreme trauma, changes have happened, and there's a disconnect. Even people that have experienced, you know, trauma, extensive trauma, their brain has changed.
Yes.
There's disconnects that have happened, but they're promising counseling available that reconnects that. There's healing available. There's new ways, as a system providers, there's new ways of caring for our patients and our clients and our families that can lessen the remembrance of stress and trauma. And that's what he wants to do, is train us, make us more aware of things that we can do, not only at a small level, but as a system level, to just bring that awareness to light, and to let us know that there's significant help available, that there's counseling that's very effective, very quickly effective, and connect us to those resources.
Yes. Now, when you're talking about systems, name the agencies that you're talking about.
Juvenile Court, DJJ, Department of Juvenile Justice, DFACS, Department of Family and Children's Services, law enforcement, all of our partners, even Babies Can't Wait.
Yes.
Just many partners within our community.
School system.
The school system, absolutely.
Anybody that really deals with children, is that right?
That's right.
Yes. And so sometimes children experience trauma, like even in their own homes. There may be family violence in the homes. And it may be that is a long-term traumatic situation where maybe there's arguing between their mama and their daddy, and maybe even violence in the home, and that affects their ability to learn, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
It does. Researchers have found that there is a disconnect going on in the brain on a biological level, and emotional as well. But those connects can be reconnected. Absolutely.
That's right. So if a child is acting out at school, there's something behind that, isn't there?
That's right.
And so a lot of times it's a traumatic experience. And, even in the community, where there's a shooting, maybe the child saw the shooting, or maybe the child's related to somebody who was killed. Those kinds of things are very traumatic. And then, of course, if there's sexual abuse, then that's very traumatic. And so there are a lot of things that children are dealing with that adults need to know how to help them through. And I know, even adults are dealing with some trauma too. And I think the building up of this in the community is going to help a lot of people. I know I was talking to somebody who is not a child, but is really in their 60s or maybe 70s, who has been through great trauma, and she still has not recovered from that. She still is having like physical problems from that, and emotional problems from that. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm glad when we get this system up that we'll have an opportunity to refer people to get treatment who are older also.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I know that with DFACS, we're focusing on the children that are in foster care.
Yes, ma'am.
And then with the juvenile system, the children who are going through that juvenile system, is there somebody else that we're focusing on in the beginning, or is that pretty much the target for in the beginning?
That's the start. Hopefully soon we'll be able to take it to the community level and
yes.
Go speak at community groups and churches and places like that to let everyone be aware. I want to say this though, everyone has a certain level of resilience, and children are remarkably resilient, so are adults. But we all have that level where we tip the scale.
Yes.
And that's when the effects of trauma really set in. So I don't want, families thinking, oh my goodness, this has happened, my child needs, counseling right away. Children are very resilient.
Yes.
But when you start seeing those signs, when you start seeing the withdrawal, the disconnect from school and friends and hobbies, be mindful of that.
Yes, and so there are some therapies that are evidence-based therapies that focus on people who've experienced trauma. And I know that there are some already in the community, and we're trying to recruit some others that will get that training and be a part of the network that we can refer people to. And so I know you have a couple, and there are some more that are very interested in doing that.
We have a few that are already trained in trauma-focused therapies, and it needs to be trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy.
Yes.
And there's other models as well, but we have several good providers that are already trained, and we have several that are being trained now. We need as many as we can to be trained because the need is there. The referrals are going to be there, and it's very successful.
Yes.
Very successful model of therapy.
And what's very encouraging also is that people can go for this therapy, and in 12 to 18 visits with a therapist, they are pretty well healed of that trauma.
They have significant positive results from that in a very short period of time, and it's because of the reconnection that's occurring, and the type of therapy that they're receiving is very effective.
Yes, and so, you know, without this kind of therapy, they might go to therapy for years without really seeing the results that we're that we're seeing with this evidence-based trauma-focused therapy. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Now tell me about secondary trauma.
Secondary trauma is trauma that people don't really realize. Caseworkers, individuals that work in social services, that judges, lawyers, law enforcement, I mean, the list goes on. You don't realize what you see every day and you have to work with every day. That's traumatic. It affects us as well.
Yes.
So secondary trauma is something we just kind of build up a wall for, but Kelly Veal is going to be one of the trainers at our training event that's going to train us with secondary trauma to help us cope with that.
With the stress.
With the stress.
And what we're talking about really is like when a caseworker goes out and she has to separate a child from the family. And in so doing that, maybe the child's not ready to leave the family. And as she removes that child, the child experiences trauma. Of course, the parents or whoever is there being separated from the child experiences trauma. But the caseworker also has that trauma. And that's not the only trauma that they will have probably that week. They'll see other things that week that are heartbreaking for them, or just hard situations to go through. And with police, when they arrive on a scene and it's a murder scene, and how hard that is for them to witness that, and all the people who are upset about that, and those kinds of things, or just their day to day. I mean, if they go into a situation where people are angry and draw a gun on them, just different things, they experience trauma, and I know that they probably do build up walls of protection for themselves, but that trauma needs to be dealt with.
That's right.
And so you're setting up a training, and the training is August the 21st, and you're going to have all these, you've invited people from all of these agencies to come in and learn about trauma-focused community, and then also you have provided Kelly Veal to talk about the secondary trauma that they've experienced and how they can deal with it. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Now tell me about the other speakers that you're going to have.
Dr. Kevin Freeman with Grace Harbor.
Yes.
He's going to train on what trauma is, the effects of trauma, and also give an overview of the successful trauma-focused therapy models that are very successful, in ways of knowing who to refer and when someone needs this type of therapy.
Yes. Now tell me about Dr. Freeman and Grace Harbor. They're new in our community, is that right?
They're a counseling service out of Peachtree City, and he's opening an office here. He's already conducting counseling here in this area, and he is certified in trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy, and is really helping us a great bit with this trauma initiative.
Yes, and he's already working with agencies in another county to provide this service, and so he has experience with that, and he's also hired 3 counselors, right, to help provide services in our area. So we're really excited and appreciate what he's done, to come, right?
Right. He's also a professor at Emory University.
Yes.
And trauma is his focus.
Yes. Okay, and you're going to have another speaker.
Yes, Sherry Brown with Troup County Circles. She's going to speak on poverty and economic stress and trauma, which affects our whole community as well. So we're excited to hear her speak. And then, of course, Kelly Veal with secondary trauma.
Yes. Now, Candy, tell me how you got involved with this initiative.
Just volunteering and working with Troop Transformation.
Yes. And so you went to the meeting and you heard this presentation, and then you went to a follow-up meeting, and it was pretty much right up your alley, right?
Oh, I was very excited about it.
Yes, because you have a heart for social work, don't you?
I do.
Yes.
And learning new initiatives that are very successful as well, and helping the church become involved.
Yes. And tell me what your vision is related to that, because I know you have one for the church to enter into social work. Tell me about that.
Churches and pastors are actually our biggest social workers within our community. That's what they do, is social work. And just helping them become trained and empowered, and to know that not only does their community need them, but they can meet a huge gap within our community as well.
Yes, they can. And you're also on the Homeless Coalition.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
Oh goodness, we partner with a great list of partners within our community to help meet the needs of homeless, identify areas where we have gaps in services and resources to the homeless, and meeting those needs and gaps. I'm very much enjoying being part of the Homeless Coalition.
Yes, and the Homeless Coalition has recently stepped out to see where the homeless are. And I know there was a trip under a bridge. Is that right?
Yes, John Harrell and Miss Sherry Brown
Uh-huh.
actually went and interviewed some of the homeless, and it was very eye-opening to them.
Yes.
They saw their own system, identified resources that we could meet their needs at a greater level, and it was very informative.
Yes, so that there are actually people who live under the bridge.
Yes.
And so I know that for me, I've heard that rumor many times, but there actually are. And you also go to City Light Church.
Yes, ma'am.
And City Light Church is interested in helping people who are homeless. And tell me about that initiative.
Well, they are working on creating a family homeless shelter, Light LaGrange homeless shelter in LaGrange. They're working on a plan now to open hopefully the first of next year. But I'm very excited about that. But this will meet the needs of the whole family, so that families aren't broken up.
Yes.
Resources can be connected. This shelter will only hold 4 to 5 families at a time, but they receive intensive care while they're there, and they're able to stay a longer period of time, up to 6 months to 9, depending on their situation.
Yes, and then also they may open up a place for people who need to get out of the cold.
Right.
Is that right?
Right.
And we've been working on several initiatives to help with that, and we're excited about some things that may come to help people just on nights that are very cold, for them to be able to find shelter. And so, I just want to say I appreciate what you're doing with the Homeless Coalition, and it's really awesome to have people in the community who care so much about the community that you volunteer your time and and look for ways to reach out to the community. And also, you look for ways to involve the church, which is so needful. I've found that as I've gone around to the meetings in the community, it is actually the desire of the different agencies to have the church involved in every way they can. And it is so encouraging to community leaders of the different agencies if the pastors show up at their meetings. And I know that sometimes people in the churches wonder how they can reach out and do more in the community, and a lot of that is through volunteering. And so I believe as Christian people do things and volunteer, they bring the presence of the Lord with them.
Yes, they do.
And they strengthen the community by their presence. So, if people are interested in volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club, they need to do that.
Absolutely.
And if they're interested in helping with Teen Maze, which I hope that they will be, and I just want to put in a plug for Teen Maze right now. Teen Maze is coming to LaGrange the first week of November, and we are looking for volunteers. We need a lot of volunteers. We could use 300 volunteers to put this on. Teen Maze is an interactive experience for 9th grade students, and they come to the Callaway Conference Center and enter the maze to a party scene. Their goal is to graduate high school, but on their way to graduating high school, they're presented with many situations, and they have to make decisions in the maze. Once they make those decisions, then they experience the consequences of those decisions. And what I like about the maze is that they experience those consequences in a way that it impacts them, but it's a safe way, and those consequences are not permanent. And so, that is just very helpful, because what we hope is once they experience those situations in real life, then they'll have the skills, or they'll remember what those consequences were in the maze, and they'll make different decisions or better decisions than they would have made had they not had that experience. But in the maze, they go to the party scene, and there's drugs and alcohol and those kinds of things. They even will have like the family violence there, or it's a girlfriend and boyfriend violence, dating violence. And so they will experience that, and then Michelle Bedingfield or someone from Harmony House will talk to them about teen violence and dating violence. And then they go and see a wreck scene where somebody's been involved in an accident because of driving and drinking. And they also, some of them will drive a golf cart, and they will have goggles on that make them feel like they're drinking. And if they hit so many cones, then they have to go before the judge, which is definitely traumatic. All these things are traumatic experiences, aren't they? So they'll go before the judge, and then some of them will go to jail. Some of them will be in the emergency room. Some of them will go to the funeral home. And so what we're doing is allowing them to see the consequences without them being permanent. And so hopefully they won't have that trauma in their real life.
That's right.
And so I didn't think about Teen Maze being trauma focused, really.
It is.
Yeah, and so that's a tool in the community that we can use. But we hope that people will come out and volunteer. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great thing to do. And really there will be a night where the community can come in and view Teen Maze, and it's an incredible offering in this community. And so if you get a chance to come out and see this maze, take it. Okay, all right, Candy, so let's just review a little bit, and I want you to again tell us who the target audience is and how how we plan on reaching that target audience.
Well, the target audience, of course, is juvenile court and becoming a trauma-focused court. Then to our systems partners, law enforcement, DFACS, all of the partners in our community, and making sure that they're trained and understand trauma, the effects, and the partners within our community that can help with those counseling.
Yes.
And then, of course, the community as a whole to be trained and aware of the effects, what trauma is, and how to care for the child that is going through trauma.
Yes.
And how to connect that child to effective counseling within our community that can help.
Yes.
So in broad term, everyone is our target audience because we want everyone to know. However, children that are in DFACS care, children that are involved in juvenile court, children that are involved in law enforcement, those are our focal points.
Yes, good. Okay, well, I just want to encourage you in knowing that the community is aware of the trauma that a lot of people are experiencing, and that we're moving forward in a way to address the trauma. And I just want you to know that there is help available, and if you feel, as we've talked, that your family has experienced trauma, that you will seek help in the community. Thank you for watching You Make the Difference, because you truly do.
It's a year of replevin'. Got a promise from heaven. It's all coming back.